Um, hi, hi everyone. It is me, Sailor Moon, and it's me, Tuxedo Mask or Evening Wear Hide. And today we're going to talk about the good things about, Deke Sailor Moon. Since there's so many folks in the Sailor Moon followership who hate the Deke Sailor Moon and don't really say there's nothing good that you can say about it. Well, they make a big deal out of things that you don't really think they make a big deal out of. First off, names. Why anyone would make a big deal of namas or names, I don't understand why that would be, but they do. First off, a lot of them are irked or angered over the Dawnish borrowed names, if any of those names are Dawnish borrowed names, I guess they are, being shifted out for either Latinus, Frenchus, Spanish, or Hebrewish, or Hellenish, or Blacklandish names, or Farsius borrowed names that folks speaking English would know more of, since English borrowed more those names from those speeches. Um, they seem to also believe it's a slight on their wisdom that that the Dawnish borrowed names were shifted out for other borrowed names. Now, they also make a big deal about either street names or near names being shifted. Now, first off, unless you live in Dawnland, have gone there, then you might know more of their near names and their street names. But for folks living in the 4-1 Reichs in a settled land who never been to any other land might not know the near names and the street names in Dawnland. And so, yeah, Deke would have to shift them or come up with new names for them. And why these folks would make a big deal out of it, I don't know. They do. Another thing they make a big deal out of are strike names. And it's true, the strike names were shifted. Yeah, Deke, later on, Pioneer and Cloverway would all shift the strike names. So, yeah. Why they make a big deal about the strike names being shifted is beyond me, but they do. And that is only the top of the iceberg of what they bitch about. You got things to say about it? Oh, yeah. You're right, Sailor Moon. You're right, Serena. The things that they make a big deal out of is just the top of the iceberg. Because they also make a big deal about sagas being being skipped over. And yes, there were some sagas in the first following a Sailor Moon, and one and a two-diff one, that were skipped over for grounds unknown. Either because they had too much fighting, they had either too much blood, there was for whatever grounds, sake or why, those things were cut out from the ones that did do things and skipped over altogether. Now, if you would think that that would be something to make a big deal of, I guess so. With them, it would be. Another thing that they bring up is the skimming or shifting of the unstraight, or the unstraight folks. And in Sailor Moon's first following, the only two unstraight folks that you meet is Zoisite and Malachite. Now, in Deke's world, Malachite's a man and Zoisite's a woman, which irked or angered a lot of folks because they were under the belief that it was wrong to shift or skim or to shift the unstraight folks. Now, first off, not going to go on here and talk about, I'm going to go on and say why I think Deke did it, but I don't know why they did it. One guess is that Deke was worried or fearful that if they happened to keep Malachite or Zoisite or Kunfite, whatever you want to call them, the way they were, that a lot of folks who are watching Sailor Moon with their children on UPN and WB would tell them you can't watch that show, and that would be the least of it. There were other folks that might take it upon themselves to somehow get a hold of UPN and WB and bitch and bitch and bitch about how they just watched a drawing show, Sailor Moon, and it had two unstraight folks in it, and they were irked and angered and made a big deal out of it until the folks at UPN and WB would tell Deke, I'm sorry, we can't do anything with this because folks are making a big deal out of unstraight folks. And that's why I think that, that Zoisite was shift to a woman. And the folks make a big deal out of that. They do. It's not like how it is now, with how the mindset, the stand, the trusting, the understanding of being unstraight or dealing with the unstraight folk. It's not how it is now. There's more understanding, more trusting, and more learning going on. And Viz didn't have to do any of those things that Deke had to do. Now, at the end of the day, there is nothing wrong with being unstraight. I do know that there are good folks out there who are unstraight. And I didn't want this whole film to be talking about that, but we just had to bring it up because it is one of the things that the Sailor Moon followership tends to bring up as their grounds to why they don't like the Deke Glee Sailor Moon. Now, another thing that they don't like is how some of the fighting or some of the wrestling is skimmed out. That they cut out some of the blood, or they skimmed out some of the weapons or some flaps. And they do make a big deal out of that. And back to you now. Yeah, you're right, Tuxedo Mask. You're right, Evening Wear Hide. You're right, Darian. Sorry for that fart if you heard it. Yeah, the things that they do make a big deal out of are the show playing. A lot of them don't like the show players who a lot of them were from the settled land, because Sailor Moon, because Deke Glee happened to work with Opium Productions or Craftings, which was a settled land business. So a lot of folks that Deke hired happened to work from the settled land, and a lot of folks didn't like the way they spoke for them. Why they made a big deal about that, I don't know. I don't know if they thought they were going to get them to speak Dawnish English or whatever they thought, but they just thought that North Vinland, they just thought that, 4-1 Rikers English or Settlelanders English, they just didn't like how they spoke for them and made a big deal about the show playing or the speaking playing or whatever you call something where someone is speaking in a drawing show or a drawing film. And another thing they also hate is how Sailor Moon's first following ended with a 2 slight half instead of being 3 slights. Well, Deke chose to make those 2 and make what had been a 3 half ender, made it into a 2 ender, and the folks made a big deal about that. Why they made a big deal about that, I don't know. And then got pissed off about how my friends got taken by the Dark Kingdom in a Deke world, and instead of being slain in the Viz world. I don't understand why they made a big deal out of that, but they did. And a lot of them will say there's nothing good about the Deke Glee Sailor Moon. But at the end of the day, I like it. It might not be for everyone. And there are things about it that a lot of folks don't like or get irked or angered over. But at the end of the day, don't make a big deal about these things. Why half of the Sailor Moon followership does is beyond me. Tell me what you think about the Deke Glee Sailor Moon. Did you like it back in the day if you watched it on WB or UPN or USA or Cartoon, or you never didn't watch it back in the day? Let me know what you think. See you later.